After watching the video created by a Benin content creator, I decided to do a reaction to it. And that reaction has been posted on my timeline. It is the most recent video on our timeline. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Enu and the Cultural Forum, the latest video you will see there, please do us a favor. Stream that video. Stream the video. Share it to your audience massively. It is a reaction video. It is me reacting to a false narrative put out by Benin content creators about my father. So this one is personal to me. I am reacting to a story that was put out there that is not true, and it concerns my ancestor, Ubulu-Uku. I may not have said this often. I may not usually also say this, but I am from a lineage of kings. So you can conveniently call me a prince. My family was the first ruling house of Ubulu-Uku kingdom. Anyone who knows Western Igbo land will know Ubulu-Uku kingdom. It is the most ancient of them all, and spiritually, economically, politically, one of the most powerful in the epoch before now. So this Benin content creator was pushing the narrative that there was a war in 1750 between my community, Ubulu-Uku, and Benin Kingdom. And in that war, soldiers from Benin, the Benin army, invaded Ubulu-Uku, my community, and unalived my great-great-great-grandfather, Ubulu-Uku. That story is false. Yes, we engaged them in a war. Yes, they also invaded my community, but they got more than they bargained for. In fact, they were humiliated. For it to become a story, in fact, it is one of the greatest stories ever told in terms of folklore. But it is a folklore that is true.
Ezomo asked his wife to bring out kola nuts, of which his wife prepared the kola nuts and gave it to Adesuwa. Adesuwa brought out the kola nuts and presented it to Ezomo. Ogyobo fell in love with Adesuwa. And the history has it that Adesuwa was already a betrothed to Oba Akengbuda. You do not drag with the Oba of Benin. That's why we say in Benin, Agwoba Sinyogie. Whatever the Oba owns, nobody is allowed to tamper. But Ogyobo fell in love with Adesuwa. He wanted Adesuwa at all costs. And he told Adesuwa's father that he wants Adesuwa, of which Adesuwa refused when Ogyobo approached her. Not too long, Ogyobo looked for a means. He devised a means to make Adesuwa come over to Ubulu-Uku. Adesuwa was a very good market woman at that time. She was selling goats, livestock in general, birds of all kinds. Ogyobo bought few goats. Some might say 14, some might say more. He bought some and he told her that I'm going to pay you back in few market days, of which they both agreed because he was a king already. You know, kings don't make empty promises. But unknowingly to Ezomo himself and Adesuwa, that Ogyobo was trying to use this means to lure Adesuwa into another territory, of which he left. All the market days counted. After the market days, Adesuwa could not take it. Although she was beautiful, but her temper was not so cool. Adesuwa told her dad that she was to confront Ogyobo at Ubulu-Uku. The dad told her not to leave the house, of which the mom also told her not to leave. But Adesuwa, being a woman with temperament issues, she left angrily and she went to Ubulu-Uku. On getting to Ubulu-Uku, she had a servant with her, a maid. Of course, she was a princess. When we talk about Ezomo family, they are royal families. She went there with her maid, of which she confronted Ogyobo. Where is my money? She asked. Ogyobo, trying to be playful with Adesuwa, started, flirting with her, of which Adesuwa refused and told Ogyobo that I'm here for my money and my money you will give me. Ogyobo got angry. Adesuwa insulted Ogyobo. She made mention of a word that I haven't been with kings in the town. Talk more of you that is an uncircumcised slave, of which Ogyobo got angry and he lifted up his sword, and he beheaded Adesuwa, took off her head from her shoulder. That was the end of Adesuwa. As fast as her maid could run, he ran back to Benin to report to Ezomo Nuzebu, the father of Adesuwa. On getting to Benin, this sad news, was passed to Ezomo Nuzebu. Ezomo Nuzebu was broken, went straight to Obaken Buddha and told Obaken Buddha, look at what Ogiobo has done. He just unalived my most precious jewel. Obaken Buddha, who got furious and was curious to know what has caused this, quickly called upon all the war generals and all the military men in Benin to go to Ogiobo and behead Ogiobo. This was to say an expedition was sent to Ubulu-Uku today. I'm calling it Ubulu-Uku, I'm calling it Obo because now it is called Ubulu-Uku, but the Edo people call it Obo. That's what they call it. That's why they say Ogiobo. But today the pronunciation is Ubulu-Uku. They are Benin people and they were once under Benin. Coming back to this story, when so many warriors went to the other side from Benin, Ogiobo was not just an easy man. You should all know that talking about voodoo, which we all call juju today or magic, Ogiobo was one at the top. Ogiobo unalived so many Benin warriors as at that time. They fought and fought, of which he was a king. You know, kings have their own warriors as well. After the war, the Benin soldiers, some retreated. They could not defeat Ogiobo, which was unusual. The Oba of Benin had to send a message down to a place now called the Ekorion. He sent a message to a man called Emokpa Ogbe. Emokpa Ogbe was his name. And it happened that years before this incident of Adesuwa took place, Ogiobo, as a medicine man, treated Emokpa Ogbe from an unknown ailment, which he got from some of his hunting expedition. Ogiobo he told Emokpa Ogbe, he foresee a vision, a prophecy for Emokpa Ogbe. He told Emokpa Ogbe that you, in nearest years to come, you are going to kill me, but the same fate will come upon you. Of which Emokpa Ogbe told Ogiobo that you saved me from my ailment, I will never kill you. It's never going to happen. Now, coming back to years later, after Adesuwa had been unalived by Ogiobo, the Oba had already sent warriors to that place. They could not unalive him. It was remaining this Emokpa Ogbe that had this prophecy from the same Ogiobo. He was sent to that place to unalive the same Ogiobo. When he got there, he refused at first. He refused. He was invited. The Oba of Benin promised him a lot. So when he got there, he took his warriors and they started fighting. They fought, and at the end of the day, not to prolong the story, this same Emokpa Ogbe unalived the Ogiobo. The prophecy came to pass. But not too long, this same Emokpa Ogbe came back to Benin to report. But on the report, something happened, of which is a mystery, because this is a prophecy. When Emokpa Ogbe got back, he started feeling like a king, of which he knew that the Oba of Benin sent a lot of warriors to a place they could not win. But himself, he won the war. So he started feeling like a king. When the Benin women are going to the market in the other territory, he will, see their baskets, whatever they are carrying, he will take it by force with his warriors. So the Oba had to devise a means to unalive him.
I want to begin by saying that my name is Prince Onwade Ngozi Chukwuka Fortune, and I am a son and descendant of this very king called Ogiobolo. Obi-Obolo is the name, not Ogiobolo, and his name was Obi-Olisewina. Obi-Olisewina is my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. You heard me use the word great like 5 times because Obi-Olisa is the father of Obi-Diese. Obi-Diese is the father of Obi-Ojuko. Obi-Ojuko is the father of Ojuko Obi, who is the father of Oshule. Oshule is the father of Moasha. Moasha is the father of Onwade. Onwade is the father of Ogochukwu. Ogochukwu is my own father. So I've traced myself back to this very king called Ogiobolo. Obi-Obolo is his name, not Ogiobolo. Now, I will pardon them because we cannot choose for them how to pronounce our title. What we have is Obi, not Oge. And the Obi-Obolo referred here is Obi-Olise. Our father Obiolise lived till ripe old age and he died. He was not killed in battle. It is also true that he took a wife called Adesuwa from Benin Kingdom, who was described as an insolent and disrespectful wife. As such, one day when she disrespected her husband before his chiefs, he asked Ndi Idoloma to take her away. Ndi Idoloma in our culture are the executioners. When they are asked to take a person away, the person is taken away to be executed. So, Ndi Idoloma took her away. The message went back to her place that their daughter, who is Adesuwa, daughter of Ezomo Nuzebu, a friend of this particular king, that she has been executed. Now, this princess Adesuwa was, according to history, betrothed or promised to the Oba of Benin, Oba Akemboda. And the Oba, in anger, decided, as we heard this speaker confirm, to wage war against Ubulu-Uku. He did. This war lasted for a very long time and even sparked waves of migration away from Ubulu-Uku. You will hear today that there are more than 20 different Obolo-affiliated communities outside the homeland of Ubulu-Uku. It is because of the several wars Ubulu-Uku has fought in the years past. There are several wars Ubulu-Uku has fought, which includes this one called Aya Adesuwa. Some call it Ubulu-Uku Benin War of 1750. It has also been made into a movie by renowned movie producer Lancelot Maswan, banking on the story written by Benin historian Jacob Eyareva. Eyareva, in his book, described the king of Ubulu-Uku as a king who came to pay homage to the Oba of Benin. And then, through that means, he used magic to whisk the daughter of Ezomo Nuzebu back to Ubulu-Uku. That is the Benin version of the story. My own great-great-grandfather, and the story that was passed down to us, the great-great-grandchildren, as a royal family, is that our father went to Benin on a diplomatic visit, which he usually does, which the Benins also do to Ubulu-Uku, as you can see in the pictures displayed here. Even before the era of photographs, there have been kings and Obas of Benin who came to Ubulu-Uku, especially to complete their coronation rites, because an Oba must sleep in Ubulu-Uku for at least 3 days to complete his fortification and coronation rites as part of his ascension to the throne of Benin. This is a fact. We have a long-standing diplomatic relationship with Benin. We were allies, not servants, not slaves, not Ibon, not Ovioba, as some people would think. Because even till date, there are still courts in the palace of the Oba of Benin that are named after my ancestor, Ezemu. There are still lineages in Benin that are from my hometown of Ubulu-Uku. Very striking example is the people of Abado. All the people of Abado are from Ubulu-Uku, who settled in Benin. There are lineages in Benin like Udo that are also found in Ubulu-Uku. There are lineages in Ubulu-Uku that are Benin migrants who came to Ubulu-Uku either for scale purposes or those who accompanied Adesuwa in marriage, or those who came to fight the Adesuwa War after Ndi Idoloma took their daughter Adesuwa away. So this video portraying that the Benin Kingdom invaded Ubulu-Uku and my great-great-great-grandfather took his head back to Benin is falsehood. There's no king in our genealogy that history tells us was ever unalived. Not even one king. Not one king. Not to now talk of the one that I am from his bloodline. As God may have it, as history may have it, as fate holds, no one can tell tomorrow. If I live to a ripe old age, I can become the Diopala of Omo Obi-Olise. That is to tell you that I am from the bloodline of this king that I am talking about. And our great-great-grandfather did not die in the hands of Benin soldiers. Rather, we had various war strategies that included that during the war, so many people were dressed up like kings. It was difficult for anyone to know who exactly was Obi-Olise. And Ubulu land is very vast. In fact, Ubulu boasts of the largest landmass among all the Anyoma communities. Ubulu had boundaries with Okpanam, so that the place they call today as Otulu is part of Ubulu-Uku, under Ubulu-Kiti. Today, Ogwashuku is holding on to it. They were part of Ward 4 in Ubulu-Uku just very recently. So this, I'm telling you, is a proven history and fact. You can fact check it. And I'm not just going to tell you by word of mouth. Let me do a bit of history book reading, okay? Let me read a little from the book, The Story of Ubulu Kingdom, by renowned author Esther Wright. In page 258, Ubulu-Uku, Benin War of 1750 AD. Let me read, for even if it's 3 minutes, let me read, so that you can get an idea of what we are talking about. This subtitle is treated in this book as an attempt to redress a one-sided story of the war that had existed between the Benin and the Ubulu people because of an incident which Ibafe said was mother of Princess Adesuwa of Benin Kingdom by Obi of Ubulu-Uku. This issue, though maturely suppressed, comes up occasionally. During the Nigerian Civil War, it was said that Benin people had the Igbos murdered in retaliation. The war known as Ayidu or Obi-Olise or Ubulu-Uku Benin War of 1750 has various accounts of how it started. Commenting on the war, Jacob Eyareba noted that a prince of the house of Ubulu-Uku came to Benin City to be invested as Oge or Obi of Ubulu-Uku. While dancing around the city after his investiture, according to custom, he called on the Ezomo of Uzebu, who presented kola to him through his beautiful daughter Adesuwa, who had been betrothed to the Oba. When the Obi caught sight of her, he wanted to marry her, but she insulted him, calling him bush ruler in derision. The Obi was indignant, and when he got home, he used charms to bring Adesuwa to Ubulu-Uku. Against the advice of her servant, she asked leave of her parents to go to Ubulu-Uku market to demand a debt owed to her for the sale of her goods. When the Obi heard she was there, he sent for her, and when she again refused his attentions and insulted him, he had her murdered. When the tidings reached Benin City, the Ezomo went to the palace to break the news to the Oba and tell him of his intentions to make war against Ubulu-Uku. The Oba, however, said that he would avenge his lover's death himself. However, Ubulu-Uku version of that war affirmed that Obi-Olise had earlier visited the Oba's palace to complete his installation as demanded by the Ubulu-Uku tradition. But on this occasion, he had gone to Idu at the invitation of his long-term friend and Ezomo of Benin. While in the home of his friend, Ezomo, who had fallen out with the Oba over some domestic issues, lured his daughter Adesuwa to seduce the Obi. The young woman, who had already been betrothed to the Oba, welcomed his father's intention, volunteering to present kola to the visiting handsome Obi-Olise. Both father and daughter got what they bargained for, as Obi-Olise, rather than collect the kola nut from her, invited her to drink beads to Ubulu-Uku for him to buy. She never went back after that visit, as a message was sent to the Ezomo that his daughter Adesuwa was in good hands. Adesuwa, unaware that Obi Olise had many wives, became angry as the Obi spent less time with her, finding herself in the same situation she was escaping. As time went on, she became intolerable around the palace. Besides that, she interpreted the Obi's tenderness towards her as weakness. The other wives became angry, insisting she had to respect them as demanded by Ubulu-Uku tradition, which was based on first come, not by age. It was the date one was married into the family that mattered. Disregarding all warnings to her, Adesuwa continued to break the rules in the palace to the extent that the matter came before the council. The last straw that broke the camel's back was when she disrespected the Obi before his council, which was unacceptable in the land. The Obi had no choice but to bow to the silent pressure her actions had caused. Sadly, he let the law of the land, which demanded the actions of Adesuwa 10 Iyaja, to prevail. The Idoloma took her away and had her executed for insubordination, as her offense was punishable by death. When the news reached Idu, the Oba, who lost the grudge against Obi Olise, saw this as an excuse to wage war against Obolo. However, knowing a people's way of life goes a long way to help when writing certain events about them, especially when they are a people rooted in traditions which are consistent. First, Ereva's references to Ezomo's presentation of kola nut to Obi of Ubulu-Uku through his beautiful daughter Adesuwa, the use of charm to entice her to Ubulu-Uku, her trip to Ubulu-Uku market to demand a debt owed to her for the sale of goods, the insult and refusal of Obi's intention which he claimed resulted in her murder might not all be true. After all, in Obolo, to this day, no female, no matter how well regarded, serves the king kola nut or serves or reaches into the bowl of kola nut meant for the king. This presentation of kola nut through his daughter could have been a deliberate attempt by Ezomo to entice the Obi with his daughter's beauty, choosing to be an in-law to the handsome Obi Olise rather than become the Oba's in-law. For how could we expect someone under the influence of magic to be in the right frame of mind to refuse one who had called her by magic all the way to Ubulu-Uku? If we also go by the account of her trip to Ubulu-Uku to recover debt, which Ereva stated, we could arrive at the conclusion that Adesuwa was no stranger to Ubulu-Uku if she had people owing her there. Also, Oba Akembuda accepting to avenge his lover's death himself showed that the battle was a battle of hatred for losing out to Obi Olise. So, Adesuwa's death was a means through which Oba waged a war against one who he believed stole his lover. I will stop reading here. There's still a lot to read, but I will stop reading and let's analyze. In Obolo culture, in the entire Igbo culture, nwaanyị anaghị eche ọjị, nwaanyị anaghị awa ọjị, nwaanyị anaghị aga ọjị, unless nwaanyị ọ bụ na o ruola certain rights, certain position and status in the society. Like for us, nwaanyị edowere idegbe, a female man who has undergone the rites of passage from womanhood to manhood, who is kept at home, has become a man. And Omo, who is also considered Okeyani, can handle kola, but not a young girl. So, a woman doesn't serve kola, doesn't bake kola, doesn't bless kola. To ordinary people, how much more a king? That is the first angle. Secondly, Jacob Ehereba, the historian in Benin, alleged that Ogioboro, which he described as Obiobolo, is who he calls Ogioboro, okay? It is from him that this young boy got the story that he's writing about. Now he's saying that Ogioboro used charm to lure somebody from Benin to Ubulu-Uku, and that person got to Ubulu-Uku and was still a dissident and was still disobeying him. It's not possible. That is a clear sign that there was no charm in luring Adesuwa, because if she was charmed, she would have still been loyal to her husband. But she wasn't charmed. Now, versions of Ubulu-Uku story that are very consistent believe that Oba of Benin Akemboda was ailing. He was very sick. And then the Ubulu-Uku people were invited as usual to come and cure their king. A time when after coronating their king, the king would buy. After coronating their king, the king would buy. Akemboda was coronated and he started ailing. So the Obi of Ubulu-Uku was invited and usually goes with his medicine men. When they got there, they cured the Oba of his ailments. And he asked, what can we do to reward you? And he said, okay, there's this daughter of Ezomonuzebu that I saw and I liked her. Please, can you give her to me to wife? And the king accepted outrightly. Ezomo didn't like the idea. That is the story from Ubulu. But in the end, because it is a king's promise, it had to be fulfilled. When Obiom himself, Ubulu-Uku, saw that they were beginning to delay the fulfillment of this promise, that was how it is believed that he used charm to whisk her to Ubulu-Uku. Then they continued their marriage happily until she disrespected him. To let you know that what I'm saying is a truer version, there are people in Ubulu-Uku in a place called Udo today. They call them Omudube. Their story is that they were part of the retinue of servants who came with Adesuwa to Ubulu-Uku during her ill-fated marriage. They are still there in Ubulu-Uku today. Umudube, in Udo waters of Ubulu-Uku. They are in Ubulu-Uku by virtue of them coming with Adesuwa for marriage. So history is usually very consistent. It hardly ever lies. It usually follows a certain pattern. If there are deviations, those deviations are usually not very far from the truth. But deviations of saying that you are the king of a community, and then generations after, you still come back to that community to do coronation right, still pay diplomatic visits like you're seeing the photo of the Oba of Benin in my screen, it is wrong and it is difficult to accept. Until today, you still have palace chiefs who are of Ubulu-Uku descent. The Okumbowa family and the rest who are from Ubulu-Uku. It is totally unacceptable and inconsistent. So I want to use this medium to correct this historical lie that tends to suggest that the people of Benin invaded Ubulu-Uku and pied the ruler, the king of Ubulu-Uku. No king of Ubulu-Uku was ever pied. In fact, Ubulu-Uku, as at then, spiritually speaking, is the headquarters of the entire region. So that the Oba of Benin relied heavily on the people of Ubulu-Uku for his fortifications. It still continued up to the last two kings of Benin. It is only this present king that has not visited Ubulu-Uku, Obaewuare II. It is up to him why too, because Ubulu-Uku also has their own present kingship challenges. So we must get history right. We must get our historical facts correctly before coming out to public to come and make videos. It is not content. It is something that you must have to verify from two sides. You can see that I read from one of the most respected Benin authors, Jacob Eareva. That book was released, I think, 1964. I read from that book before I also delved to books written by the people of Ubulu-Uku Kingdom. In case you're just joining us, or this is the first time you come across our video, my name is Onwode Ngozi Chukwuka Fortune, and I am from the royal bloodline of Ubulu-Uku Kingdom, the first royal house of Ubulu-Uku. I am a son of Ezemu and a son of the very king referred here as Obi-Obolo, who the Benin's tend to call Ogi-Obolo. Our king is Obi, not Ogie, and we are not of Benin descent. There are lineages in Ubulu-Uku that migrated from Benin. If we are of Benin descent, perhaps we will not have Obi. We would have had Oba. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you look at the picture, look at this picture between the Oba of Benin and Obi of Ubulu-Uku. I'm sure you will not even know which one is the Oba, except you are a Benin person or you are an Ubulu-Uku person. By their dressing, by their sitting positions, does any of them look subservient to the other? Those who are claiming they are of Benin descent, if they go to Oba of Benin Palace, they will give them seat among the commoners to sit. But that doesn't happen with the Obi of Ubulu-Uku. When the Obi of Ubulu-Uku comes to the Oba of Benin's palace, he sits beside the Oba. When the Oba of Benin comes to Ubulu-Uku, he sits close to the Obi. They sit side by side. Nobody claiming any sort of superiority over the other. A king is a king. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will look forward to seeing you in our next videos where I will be talking about the Ekumeku anti-colonial resistance. I want to state here before doing the video that anybody that talks about Ekumeku without mentioning where the first shots were fired, where the first white men were fired, the person is not talking about Ekumeku. And the person is not talking about where the headquarters of Ekumeku is and where there's a secondary school still named after Ekumeku. That the person doesn't know anything about Ekumeku. The person doesn't know anything about the meaning of the word or the charm called Ekumeku. I will see you in my next video where I will be exposing some secrets concerning the longest lasting anti-colonial resistance struggle in the history of mankind known as Ekumeku resistance. And I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.
In one.